What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second part of the Osmo.com golf podcast, and this one is titled Hitting Three from the Tee. So in golf terms, if you guys aren't familiar with golf terms or what have you, it just means basically you've had to re-tee from your tee ball being out of bounds, in the water, unplayable, whatever it may be. So as you know, even with my articles, if you've been following me for a little while, I like to try and keep it golf theme as much as possible. So here we are with the second edition. And again, what I'm going to do with this one, just so we can go over kind of the landscape of what we're doing. In the first one, I kind of set the tone for the week. And now with this one, I'm going to give you a preview of what DraftKings put out for us, what the salaries are, what the odds are opening, and just give my opening thoughts. Also, go over some field changes. Those are always fun to take a look at. Some new faces probably that we've never seen before. Also to keep track on the sponsors exemptions and such. So a lot of good things come from those field changes. Nate Lashley winning last year, I mentioned on the pod last night if you listened. So we'll dive into that. Then we will finish it off with this little statistical fit. I mentioned a couple of important stats last night on the pod, if you listened. So we'll go over kind of my findings of those and go from there. So first, we're going to start off with DraftKings, FanDuel, and the alike of fantasy contests out there this week. And now contests were just posted not too long ago, maybe a couple hours ago, and still coming out with some of them, of course. But for DraftKings, we'll start. Their biggest prize this week is obviously the $50,000 to first place, $250K guarantee, $8. It's called the best ball this week. And it probably could have afforded to go a little higher on that, but still. And then a couple other MMEs. You got the Club Twirl, what's giving $20K to first. And then the big one, the $500, is giving $25K to first this week. For all those single entry people that like to focus on the single entry stuff, the top one is, it looks like, the dog leg, $33, $20K total prize pool with $2,000 going to first. Nice flat structure there. And then, of course, you have the Albatross, $15K guaranteed, $1,500 to first. Nice flat structure there. So plenty of other, of course, single entry things that you can take a look at. And then the other medium dollar buy-in, which they've replaced the $150 3 entry max with, which I'm not too thrilled about, but it is what it is. It's called the Stinger. And now they're allowing you, instead of 6, they're allowing you 8. So a little different there, I guess. So that covers DraftKings. They do have the Driver, which is the single entry $200 buy-in. So it's different. During the year, normally they go for that $150 3 entry max with a $100 single entry. Well, for the fall swing, at least, we're seeing a $200 single entry with a $100 MME. So just a little different structure. Always like to go over that so people can take a look and see what DraftKings is offering us. And while I'm on the screen quickly, there's a very good Euro contest. The best one they put out, though, is an $8 2K to first. Just a good tournament over there. It's too bad they don't give us a tidbit more. So that, as I said, we'll now finally cover DraftKings, and we can move on to FanDuel, where they've given us at least a little bit more. The contest have been filling quite easily over there during this fall swing, which maybe they're underestimating a little bit. Still, we're going to get a $10K to first for the $9. Then, of course, there's the $3 that they put out now every single week, and that is $2K to first with $15K guaranteed. With the big buy-in, $333 with, let's see, I believe it's $3,000 to first place. Only 30 people in that, so definitely an opportunity to play against not too many people and have an opportunity to, $3K is definitely nothing to write home about, especially for the fall swing on our secondary site. So that covers at least the main DFS sites. Of course, there's a fantasy draft out there, which is a good sponsor of the Osmo.com products, and they have got, so might as well just throw it out there. They're giving us a $3,000 guaranteed for a $25 buy-in as their top one. So I think that gives a good landscape of what type of contests you can find out there. Like I said, I'm going to try and incorporate that. I know some people like to focus on the single entry stuff, so certainly I will talk about at least what you have for contest out there this week. Sometimes people don't even go look in the lobby or don't scroll enough on their phone to even see some of the good ones. So hopefully I can cover them here. If I missed any, or if you want me to focus on another area, let me know, and I will certainly look into it. All right, so now let's move on to how I did with my top 5 breakdown on the salary board. And gotta be honest with you, I didn't do all that bad. JT was the top. That was pretty much a given. They threw him out at 11.6. I guessed at 11.8. I nailed Cantlay at 11.2, both with the second guy on the board and the price. And here's where it flip-flopped a little bit. I had Matsuyama at 10.6, and I had Bryson at 10.4, only because I thought Bryson was just really popular still, and DraftKings would not price him below 10K. But they have. They priced him at 9.9, and they put Adam Scott up at 10.7, and Hideki Matsuyama at 10.5, which, is only $100 off, so not bad there. The next one, though, this one's interesting, which I think I might have mentioned yesterday, is Sung J M. They priced him up at 10.1 above Bryson DeChambeau. Coming in, just getting a ton of attention, of course. Got a ton of attention last week, came in second. And DraftKings, the algorithms, and the odds makers seem to think that he is very close, on the verge. So, no surprise to see Sung J M join the top 5 this week. So, overall, not bad. I nailed one out of 5 with an actual price. And I nailed, I got 2 out of 5 on where they were actually priced. So 40%, not bad. I'll give myself since I got Cantlay's price, I'll give myself like a C+. If you guys would like to tell me how I did, feel free to comment on the tweet below where I send this out, or go ahead and message me if you did a little bit better than me. All right, now we're going to move on to field changes. Excuse me there. Field changes, as I've said, I find them to be increasingly important to take a look at and monitor and just overall keep track of, because sometimes it can be super late. DraftKings gets out an email. Sometimes you can miss the email. Definitely a lot going on that you have the opportunity to miss with these field changes. So I'm going to do my best to tell you all the ones at least I know on Monday night when I record this. All right, so first one, Dominic Bozzelli and George McNeil get in the field via their top 10s last week. Both played great, and neither were qualified this week. They took the place of Michael Gellerman and Rob Oppenheim, but Oppenheim and Gellerman actually just got in when Kramer Hickok and Jimmy Walker both withdrew. So Gellerman and Oppenheim in the field, Bozzelli and McNeil in the field. Cameron Davis is out of the field at this point. He is now considered the first alternate. Then we move on to our open qualifiers. Byron Meth, a 26-year-old from San Diego. He studied at Pacific University, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's got to be around this area. I know San Diego's not, but still 83rd on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. Money list, had a couple of top 10s. Obviously, 26 years old. He's been around for at least a couple of years. So good for him to come in here and get a start. Tying with him in the open qualifying was Andres Gonzalez, a Tour vet. Lost his card a couple of years ago, hasn't been able to get it back, but we'll get a start here this week. Then John Oda, a 23-year-old product from Hawaii, went to UNLV, left, and I had all hopes of him being able to go out and crush the Korn Ferry Tour, him and Doug Gim, and thought no doubt about it that we'd see these two this year on the tour. But Oda did not play well. Ended up finishing 107th on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, so we'll need to improve that, of course. This year, I believe he still has status on that tour, so let's see if he can find himself a little bit of a groove, and it would be nice to make a cut and make a paycheck here this week. And I went onto their website, so this is, like I said, this is Monday. They may have a 2-for-3 playoff this morning because it's supposed to be only 4 open qualifiers. They listed Brandon Harkins, who tied with John Oda in the last gentleman I'll tell you about, Jin Ho Chung. And they listed Harkins last, so I wonder if he lost in the 2-for-3 playoff, and the website just wasn't good. But anyways, Jin-Ho Chung, he graduated from Oregon in 2018 and is currently playing on the mini tours. So grinding it out would be an understatement. However, he's playing pretty good on the mini tours and beating, at least a couple of good players. So maybe somebody that could get through the cut, but not somebody that I'm terribly excited about this week. We don't know too much. John Oda, like I said, he coming out of UNLV definitely had an opportunity to make waves and couldn't do it or hasn't been able to do it yet, but certainly a start here might change that. We got a few sponsors exemptions. We saw Akshay Bhatia last week, had a nice 2-under and was in good position after his Thursday round, but shot a 2 over Friday and ended up at even par, obviously missing the cut, which ended up being -3. So he'll make his second pro start. He's got 4 more sponsors exemptions to hold through. And then he'll probably, I can't imagine, but nothing is too crazy in the game of golf. Can't imagine he'll end up with his tour card, missing the cut last week. It's going to be tough to do in 5 starts. We saw not even Victor Hovland be able to do it in 5 starts, let alone Akshay Bhatia, who I don't know if he has quite as much potential right now as, say, somebody like Victor Hovland does. So definitely a wait and see, but he's got a ton of talent. He's only 17 years old, already a professional, so let's certainly see how that goes. The next one is scheduled to be working another job, the next sponsor's exemption, sorry. And it's funny, he's scheduled to be working another job on Sunday afternoon. There's nothing been told that he's not going to be working it. And that's Tony Romo, the quarterback, now turned NFL player analyst, or play-by-play analyst, I should say, on CBS. He has a sponsor exemption into this tournament. No idea why. It's a super important tournament. But he's not taking away a spot of anybody in the field. At least not that I'm aware of. He's not taking away a sponsor exemption that could have gone to, say, Cameron Davis, who's basically right on that, getting into playing in the event as the first bubble guy. So just, I thought a couple of interesting. The last one, sponsor exemption, is Ricky Barnes. He's a tour vet. I don't know if he just knows the tournament director or what have you, but he got one of those sponsors exemptions. So that covers the open qualifiers, the SEs, and that gives us a little bit of time left here. We're at about 13 minutes into the pod, and like I said yesterday, if you're listening for the first time, I'm going to keep all of these pods, or at least attempt to keep all of these pods, to 25 to 30 minutes. Reason being, it's just because, first of all, I think that everyone will likely get bored of me after 20 to 30 minutes. I get bored of me after 20 to 30 minutes, and I've struggled at times of getting past that 20 to 30 minute mark on listening to listening to other podcasts. So thought this would be a good way to just get the information out there. And of course, got a bunch of other content weekly over at Awesemo, and of course that private Slack channel, another way to get at me. So just a lot of different areas that you might be able to find me, chat with me if you're not getting as much as you want to out of the pod. So let's move into some opening odds and salary discussion. So this part, again, I break down the entire field on our Wednesday night show on the Awesemo.com, live before lock. It's not quite live before lock, but good enough as basically when you go to sleep and you wake up, it will be lock most of the time. That's on Wednesday nights with Ben Raza. We break down almost the whole field, or at least all of the most important people. So I'm just going to keep this brief. I'm going to pick one golfer under 25 to 1 odds. I'm going to pick one golfer over 40 to 1 odds, and I'm going to pick one golfer over 100 to 1 odds. I'm going to give you their DraftKings prices too, and then I'm going to just give you any interesting prices that I saw throughout the week. I think that's a great lead-in to talk about Ryan Moore. Must have been a little bit of a algorithm hiccup in the FanDuel pricing, as he is the min price over there and priced as the, let's say, 12th highest guy. Sorry, I had to count my numbers there. 12th highest price guy on DraftKings, and he's the min price on FanDuel. So certainly something to question what FanDuel was doing. They did something similar with Scott Piercy, who's 17 on the board on DraftKings. And boy, oh boy, you got to go way down on FanDuel. 8,300 on FanDuel. That puts him, somewhere in the like 60 or 70 range. So 2 huge misprices there for FanDuel. We'll get those out of the way. And now we'll move into my pick from each. So Hideki Matsuyama. Actually, I'm going to save him because we're going to talk about him in the next section. So my one pick is going to be Justin Thomas. Thomas was obviously extremely hot through the last part of the year. He won that second playoff event and then finished 9th after getting, quite a bit of a head start there at the Tour Championship. Didn't play well, but the course has never really suited him. However, this course, he has played 3 times. First time he missed it in 2014. It was his first time seeing it. I mean, the kid, he was, 21 then, 20. Now, he was able to bounce back in 2015 with a 3rd place and 2016 with an 8th place finish. And what I like about Justin for this golf course is if he can keep his driver in play on these first 8 holes, he's going to have, as we mentioned in the First Cut article, and if you haven't had a chance to read the First Cut article that I put out free every week, just go to awesemo.com/PGA. It should be the banner article under that URL that I just gave you. So if Justin Thomas legitimately has 8 chances of inside of 125 yards, he was ranked 9th best last year in proximity from inside of 125. He could get really, really hot really quickly. Now, granted, he is the highest priced golfer on DraftKings at 11,600. His odds are 8-1. So again, a bit short there, but if you're on the betting side, 8-1 is still certainly going to make a good week if he does end up hitting in your betting appropriately. And of course, on the DraftKings side, at 11,600, it is a little expensive, but in a field like this where Patrick Cantlay and Hideki Matsuyama are his 2 biggest competition, not Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson or Brooks Koepka, that does open the door for Justin Thomas to have a chance at pulling away from the field. And if he does that, which we've seen sometimes in these first couple events of the year, and of course after the turn of the new year, he can light it up quick. And if he does, certainly even at 11,600 has an opportunity to play well, score well, and be a big part of your lineup, even though it wasn't many times last year where the top guy on the board actually won the tournament. So, anyways, we'll now move on to the pick at 40-1. And I'm going to go with a guy that I kind of chased a good amount of the year last year. Then he got hot as well in the playoffs. Cooled off the last couple. But it's Abraham Ancer. He's seen the course now. This will be his 3rd time as well. 37 and a miscut the previous 2 times. He's 40-1 right now, and I think that's a pretty good odds. He's 16th on the DraftKings board, somewhere probably a little bit shorter in the odds. So DraftKings price at 8,700 is pretty reasonable for sure. And of course, that 40-1, that's a good price to start looking at some of these guys in that mid-price range that we know are pretty close. Another one that I would say would be pretty close. Harold Varner, who's 67-1, so maybe a little bit better. I'm giving you 2 picks here, but that's okay. Harold Varner, 67-1, has been playing some great golf. 7,800 on DraftKings. Really good on the betting side. I think both of those plays there will be part of my betting card this week. Justin Thomas, again, if you're betting appropriately, even at 8-1 if he wins, will still be a good bet. So moving on to now our bets that are going to be over 100-1. And I'm going to go with Carlos Ortiz. Let's talk about him for a minute. Carlos Ortiz was roommates in college with Sebastian Munoz and is very good friends with both Sebastian Munoz and Joaquin Niemann, who won the last 2 weeks. Munoz even said in one of his pressers there that his win was spurred on very dramatically by Joaquin Niemann's win the previous week, just because it's inspiring to see one of your closest buddies on tour go out there and do it. So Carlos Ortiz, 100-1. Obviously, with guys like Justin Thomas in the field and Patrick Cantlay, you'd like to see Carlos Ortiz's odds somewhere in the 200. So maybe 100-1, a little short, but certainly coming in with great form in the 4th place finish last week, and certainly seeing some extra motivation, seeing his 2 buddies go out there and win. So that would be my kind of opening bets, the first three names that I have clicked, and certainly for a couple of other names that I've clicked and other names that I like. Or if you want my entire player pool, just become an Awesemo.com Plus member. Use the promo code Roslyn to get half off your first subscription package. And now we can cover the statistical fit, and that will be perfect. We're at about 20 minutes long here, so have about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe sometimes up to 10 for this category. And I am going to have a guest host for this category, somebody that certainly dives into the statistical numbers even more so than I do. Also an industry guy that you probably know, Matt Jones. He'll be joining me next week and hopefully pretty regularly for this next statistical fit segment. So he's one of the other reasons why I'm bringing Matt on to join me with this segment is the way that he approaches course history is not based off of the previous results. And I know this is going to get a little fuzzy here, but basically he believes that instead of course history being a real thing, that it's more of a course fit and a statistical fit for the player's game rather than just a guy driving up Magnolia Lane and getting the good feels. So putting a little context to it, as you guys, if you've been following me, if you haven't been following me, my feeling on it is simple. Yes, I believe that course history does exist and should be part of a model, but there's a reason course history exists just beyond the stats as well, and that does play mentally a little bit for me. So this will be a very good discussion for it. Again, 5 to 10 minutes long each week, and you'll hopefully be able to pick up a few different guys. So first guy I'll mention is Hideki Matsuyama, who last year finished the year right around where we'd like to, and as far as driving distance goes, ranked inside the top 30. So right, very close to where you could find Kevin Tway, who won this tournament last year. Of course, his proximity last year to the hole was inside the top 20 as well. So he actually leads the combined DD and proximity to the hole from inside of 125 yards. So certainly something to take note there. And then we'll go to Christopher Ventura and Scott Harrington, my two Korn Ferry guys that I'm going to highlight in this section. So what I did with them was I took, now granted Ventura's only been 2 rounds and Harrington's been 6 rounds. I took the driving distance from the Korn Ferry Tour and matched it up with their proximity in those 2 and 6 rounds. And those guys actually ended up 2-3 on the combined driving distance and proximity list. Kind of interesting. Just basically means if they can get hot with the putter and keep their driver somewhat in play on this course, they could set up pretty good for it. Corey Connors also jumps up on this list. No surprise there. He could not putt last week. I won't be too scared to go right back to him, as it really was his putting that he missed last week. Really not a surprise. But this week, I said it last week, I don't expect the cut to be much more than 2 or 3 under, and I hope that Corey Connors can make enough putts. He didn't last week. And now to round out the last couple here that I wanted to chat about is Sepp Straka, who is also in a kind of a similar boat there as Corey Connors, just hasn't been able to find the cut or find his form. But proximity to the hole doesn't look all that bad inside the top 100 of the 6 rounds that he's played, or 4 rounds. So not too bad. And then the last two is Taylor Gooch and Nick Watney. Both find themselves inside the top 40 in driving distance last year. Both found themselves inside the top 50 in proximity to the hole last year. And both found themselves ranked inside the top, just going to confirm here. Yep. Both ranked inside the top 50 in terms of proximity inside of 125 yards. So Nick Watney and Taylor Gooch, another 2 guys that statistically look like they could fit pretty well. So we're at 24 minutes and 12 seconds, somewhere in that range. So again, perfect amount of time. This is exactly what I'm trying to do. And so you might have heard my intro music there. I thought I'd bring that up a little bit. So we are going for the totally transparent approach. So I am using just some fun songs that I found on the internet that are free to use for stuff like this. So each week I'll try and make at least it sound pretty good and sound like it's not just my voice dry coming in. So I will play you guys off, and thank you for joining me for the Hitting 3 from the Tee podcast, the part 2 of the Awesemo.com golf podcast. Thanks for joining. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. And again, drop me some comments under the tweet here that I tweet this out at, or DM if there's things you want me to add, things you think I should add, etc. So again, thanks for joining everybody, and we will see you next week.